Hi there, my name is Kira Dunn and I am a speech and language therapist working with Enable Ireland. And I'm here today to just share with you what I feel is the number one strategy for supporting an AAC user, and that is called modelling. Okay, so many of you who regularly communicate with young people who use AAC devices may feel a little bit unsure about what is the best approach to be using, or how, should you optimize your communication with this young person. So I would say, from my own clinical experience and from research evidence in the area, that modelling, as you can see in the slide here, is the number one strategy we can all be using for our AAC users. I've seen it become one of the most valuable tools you can have in your toolbox when communicating with a young person using AAC. And it really, really does help a child learn how to use their own AAC system for really effective communication throughout their day. So I hope this presentation helps you feel you're well equipped enough to go forth and use modelling yourself. So let's jump right in and see what modelling is all about. Right? If we look at this picture here, you can see Shani, and she does look very happy. Um, it's because her teacher is saying, Shani, I want you to name this animal for me. Just press the correct picture on your talker, please. And I've seen this happen a lot. Unfortunately, lots of people feel when they introduce technology or any sort of augmentative alternative communication system to a young person, they presume knowledge. They think this person will be able to find all the words and select all the symbols straight away. But unfortunately, a young person learning how to use an AAC system needs lots of repetitive input from us as communication partners first, before they'll be ready to reliably use this system themselves to make effective messages. So what I would say is, it's like learning a foreign language. For us, if we were to learn French, we wouldn't be able to speak a full sentence or even point and find words in French without having lots of lovely guided instruction from a person showing us where words are and what they mean. So if you think about it that way, it's the same. It's kind of true for our young children as well, working with AAC, how they really need us to use the language that they're learning lots and lots before they'll be ready to answer such a question as what's shown in this picture here. Um, so what is AAC modeling? It is just pointing to symbols on an AAC system as you talk to model the language that you are using. You don't need to worry about pointing to every single word that you're maybe using in your verbal speech on the device, just pointing to the words that are most important or relevant in your sentence. Um, and just to note as well that sometimes this approach, modelling, is also referred to as aided language stimulation. And there are lots of lovely articles and blog write-ups online that you might want to have a look at in relation to aided language stimulation. I've put a couple at the end of the PowerPoint, but just to say that is another kind of term that's used for this approach. Okay, so on this slide, I've just added a link to a YouTube video that's just explaining to you what is aided language stimulation or modelling. And I think it really highlights how valuable it is for us as communication partners to speak to an AAC user in their language in order for them to be able to understand the words that they're meant to be using, and for us to show really good models of how they can make effective messages throughout their day using their system, using the language that they can use. And really to note here now, like, if we don't use their AAC system effectively throughout the day, they may not learn how to regularly and reliably use the system themselves. If you think about it, if we only model on their device once a day, it's going to take that young person a lot longer to learn how to speak that language themselves. So yeah, have a look at that little video. I think it does really capture the importance of aided language simulation or modelling as well. There are lots of reasons why we should use this approach. I've outlined a few of them on the slide here. So AAC modeling really helps an AAC user to see what it looks like to communicate using their AAC system in real conversations throughout their day. It helps them learn, when we use words on their device, it helps them learn what the words mean. So if we're pointing to or modeling the word for go while we say, oh, but let's go to the shops now, they'll learn the meaning of that symbol and the real meaning of the word that hopefully they'll want to use themselves when they're ready. They'll also learn, when we model, they'll learn where the words are on the system. And I often say to families, show the young person using AAC how you're looking for where the word is, to teach them that it's okay, that it might take a while to find a word, but that's part of learning how to use the system. And it also, when we model putting words together, it teaches the young person how to build sentences using their communication device. And that's really lovely in terms of modeling language development for the young person as well. I just thought I would show you a typical core board here. So this might be the typical layout you'd see of symbols at the home page of a high-tech device, or on one of those low-tech, we call it, so just a page set printed out and laminated of core words for your young person that's using AAC. And I just thought I'd show you how we might map our verbal language onto symbols on these devices or low-tech systems. So, for example, in terms of modeling, we can model lots of different functions of communication. Beyond just requesting, we can model a few different types of communicative functions. So if I wanted to just make a request for something like I want, I might point to the symbol for I, and then the symbol for want, and then maybe use the word biscuit. So we might be able to point to the symbol, as you can see there, for I, and the symbol for want, and just then use the verbal word for biscuit. Alternatively, we could ask a question like, when are we going? So like, when are we going to get Sophie? So we could point to the when symbol, the go symbol, and then the Sophie symbol. So when are we going to get Sophie? There's a lot of other little words in there, but we're just mainly modeling the key 2 to 3 words, such as the when symbol, the go symbol, and then we could add the little symbol for Sophie as well. So that's a request, a question. We could use modeling for comments about things. We could say I is pointing to the symbol for I, then I like, using the symbol for like. And you could say that, or you could use a word that verbally that you might say, I like that music, or I really like that dress that you're wearing. So you might just be pointing to the symbols for I like and using lots of other words verbally, but at least the child is getting a lovely model of the key parts of that sentence, which are the words for I and the word for like, and that's there on their system that you're modeling. I hope you can see the words that I'm talking about on this kind of core page set, but you can use the ones that you find most relevant for your child when you're modeling with them. So in order to think about how you go about modeling language, I'd like you to just start by thinking of a time in your daily routine that might be a really good opportunity for you to use. So maybe thinking of what's your favourite time to spend in the day with your child, thinking about what are you doing together at that time, and what words may be really useful, or what words are you already using within that activity. So just having a think about that. And then I just thought I would share kind of some steps, or a step-by-step approach, I guess, on how to try it out yourselves at home. So once you've picked your daily routine that you can think of that you might use to start modeling, I would say decide on about 2 to 5 words just to get started. I find working with families, they've said it's easier if they just think of 2 to 5 words that might be, what they'll focus on at the start. So for example, if the routine is bath time, the word might be splash, wet, fun, those kind of words. and just identifying where they are on the device. So I would say have a think of what the words are, and then have a look for where they are on your child's communication system. Making sure to think about meaningful words, or words that are really motivating for the young person, so that you think they might want to use them themselves when they're ready. And I just encourage you to practice pointing to the symbols as you talk. Have a little trial run yourself before using them with your child, but then do try and use them then in the daily routine. Um, it's helpful to use words that occur often in daily routines, because the child will then have many opportunities to see them modelled. Like we talked about at the start, they need repetitive input of the same words in order to be able to learn where they are and how to use them themselves. And then just watch and see how your child will start actually using those words when they're ready to communicate themselves in those lovely moments throughout your daily routine. Once your child and you are familiar with this approach and you feel like it's going really nicely, I would say to continue by repeating the approach throughout the day. So once you've found maybe one opportunity in the day to practice it, it's then thinking about adding maybe another opportunity and another opportunity, so that it becomes something that's a natural part of your everyday, that you are modeling your language on the child's device throughout their day. So just making sure that as many people in the child's environment are using the same approach, are speaking their language as such, because the more people speaking the language to the child, the better, the quicker they're going to learn how to use it themselves. So I would say trying to keep the AAC system, whatever it might be, accessible out there on maybe the kitchen table or wherever it is, the coffee table in the living room, whatever is a nice kind of generic space as such throughout your day, so that it kind of is a visual reminder nearly to you as well as the child, to model using the device, and it also allows for more opportunities for the young person to actually approach and independently use the talker themselves if they want to. Yeah. So you may still be wondering how this approach really looks in action. So I've just pasted two little video clips here that I found of good examples of modelling with games on YouTube. If you wanted to just have a look at those, I think that will give you a nice flavour of how to go about modelling yourself. Another next step would be to link with your child's speech and language therapist for more advice and more specific suggestions related to your young person that has an AAC device. You may have some difficulties that you've been facing that you need to troubleshoot, and it would be best to go to your speech and language therapist to talk directly through those queries. As I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, I have just added a few links in here for more information. There is a plethora of information online, but I do find these websites are particularly helpful in just getting that little bit more user-friendly information, I suppose. So feel free to check out those links for more information. And that's it for me today. I hope that this was in some way helpful to you, and that you can go forth feeling a little bit more well equipped to get out there and model some lovely words for your young person with AAC. Thanks for listening. Bye.